How are you?
Estamos? Good.
Muy bien. Muy bien.
Good. Look at it.
You look good. Yes, we wanted to come here to one of the vineyards because we always do it in the winery. Yeah. And we said, okay, let's do something also in one of our most iconic vineyards here in nearby Aro.
So beautiful. Qué lindo.
Yeah. It's our breakfast time.
Wow.
You have the coffee.
Estoy muy feliz. So gorgeous. How do you like the 18 vintage?
Today we have the Reserva 2018 to taste. Mm-hmm. And yes, we were happy with it's true that by the end of the before the harvest, it was in our area, it was a little bit difficult. The weather was good, a little bit, it was a warm year, a little bit hot. But so the conclusion, the end results was that we were happy with the vintage. It's a more of a maybe Mediterranean character, and you can see in terms of the wine, I think that the fruit is quite present, and it's a very, very pleasant and balanced wine. That year, we, because of in some areas it was a little bit by the end of just before the harvest, it was a little bit more difficult. We focused all our efforts that year. We focused on one wine on two wines, mainly on our Reserva 2018 and a small quantity of Selección Especial.
Did you have some rain? I don't remember that.
Yes, at the end in October was the end of the harvest was very difficult in this area. Remember, Aro is in the really north part of Rioja. So we pick the grapes at the end of the period. So sometimes if the weather change, we have a few problems.
I see.
So we prefer in this period we prefer to work in the view to produce Selección Especial and Reserva, and stop the production in this vintage, the Torre Muga, Pradonea, and Aro.
That's why that's part of our philosophy. That's when we think the vintage hasn't been perfect for us in terms of conditions, then we're going to focus all our efforts either on one wine, which is the Reserva, or also a small quantity on the Selección Especial. That's why today to taste we have the 18, but then for example, for the Pradonea, Torremuga, and Aro in 18, we won't have any production.
Oh, that's interesting. And how would you compare the wines to 2017? Then that was a hot year, but you didn't have any problems with rain then during the harvest.
17, we had problems with the frost.
It was a different problem.
That's right.
It was a different problem.
Yeah. It was an excellent. We were very, very happy with the quality, but we had frost, so we had a smaller production because of the grail and of the frost, mainly of the frost, and yes, and for that reason, in that case, it was because of quantity. We only had in 17. We only had also one wine, which was the Reserva.
Only Reserva.
We didn't produce Selección. That's why today we don't have the Selección 17 to taste, because we didn't produce any Selección, Pradonea, Torremuga, or Aro in 17.
Wow. Okay, that's difficult.
And in this vineyard, I was at the beginning, we wanted to come here because it's also a very good, very iconic vineyard for us, but very good example of the typical blend of Rioja. And around us here, we have plots of the Tempranillo, plots of Garnacha, of Mazuelo, and of Graciano. Just in front of us, we have some plots of Graciano.
And tell me, what do you think, how was 2019 compared to 18 and 17 then? Were there problems in 19 as well?
No. 19, no. 19 was a beautiful vintage.
Very balanced, very good vintage. And the wines, we don't have yet the wines here to taste, but the wines we are tasting from the 19, we are very, very happy. And we are very much looking forward to the end results. But we are going to produce all our range.
Oh, fantastic.
Aro, Selección, yeah. So usually, if we look back at the last 20 years, usually in a decade, probably there are 3 or 4 years where we only concentrate all our efforts on a single wine.
In the Muga,
that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting, because most people in Europe had, 18, 19, and 20 were very good vintages, but it looks like 19 was the one for you. How was 20?
Very good also. Yeah.
20 was very good. The only problem with is the hail.
Mildew?
We had a few problems with the hail last year. So we lost a few plots of Muga Selección Especial and Prado Nea. So it was a difficult vintage, but in general, the vintage was good.
Okay. So do you think that a lot of producers made less wine in 18 because of the rain during the harvest?
Well, we don't know. In the thing in Rioja that depending where we are, in a few meters or in a few, conditions can change. In our case, it was not so much about the quantity. It was probably more about the for the very top ranges and those vineyards that we use for those very top ranges. If we are not fully convinced, we decide to focus all the efforts on one single wine. So I think, I don't know what you believe, but I think I don't know that the rest of our colleagues probably it was also, it was not as 19, but it was in general. I think it was also a good vintage, but I don't know where they have focused the efforts in terms of their wines.
Yeah, I found in general the wines, they reminded me a little bit of 16, but of course the tannins aren't as strong. But I like the 18s in general. They're very nice to drink when they're even young right now.
Exactly. I think they are ready to drink faster than other vintages, and also because of what you say, I think the tannins are more present at a young age than other wines or other vintages.
Cool.
And also the fruit is there very present. So it's nice.
The aroma, I think the 18 is a little bit more intense, and we can find a little more fruit in the 18. Yeah. Do you want to start with the sparkling now, or do you prefer to keep up?
Yeah, let's start with those because it's still cold.
Okay. So the first one we have this is the 18 vintage. And the last one we had with you was the 17, and here one, as you know, we are under. We do a small production of cava. So this is the sparkling. We have a white and a rosé. The white we have the same type of blends we use for our Muga white, which is mainly it's the main grape variety. It's Viura. And we follow here the traditional method in terms of the winemaking traditional method. You know that we are under the cava, and you know that most of the cava comes from all the region of around Penedès, Barcelona, but certain vineyards outside that area in Spain, they are certified as cava, and that's our case. We've been producing this cava since 1977. Okay, so
I've had this before, but this is one of the best ones I've had from you guys. Was 18 particular? What, did you change something, or was it the vintage? Or
we nowadays I have more good conditions to produce the grapes. And we little we try to improve the vineyards, the quality of the vineyards, at the same time in the winery. So we learn every day, and we try to put all of this knowledge in each wine. So in this case, we try to improve the quality only in the vineyard. In the winery, I can improve it, but in the vineyard is the most important.
And maybe we can say also that maybe the 2018 is a very good vintage for the sparkling.
Yeah. Usually when you have in Rioja, is the conditions the weather and the soils to produce cava is amazing. So we learn more and more, and I'm sure that we can improve more the quality of our sparkling wines.
Totally.
So Rioja, everybody knows Rioja by the red wines, but in Rioja we can do at the same time a very good sparkling.
That's actually really, because everyone always thinks of cava in Penedès, and honestly, these are really high quality, and the texture of the bubbles are really fine, and you're getting a lot of the yeast autolysis like you get with champagne. So it's it's very serious cava sparkling wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as Isaac is saying, I think the quality cavas. I think if in general, if we do things right and we do the right communication and there is I think big potential and good future for it.
Totally. What sort of dosage do you use then?
Any dosage. So the dosage in Muga is only with a little bit of white wine,
mm-hmm.
and we add a little bit of sulfur,
mm-hmm.
and that's all. So we try to never touch the structure of the wine, and we don't use any sugar. The effect of the sugar is to
hide
some problems.
So we prefer to use
so our dosage is a special dosage for Muga, so it's white wine and sulfur, and that's it.
Wow.
But how many grams of sugar we can find in this sparkling?
In this is probably 3 grams.
3
but
grams.
this is
natural
sugar.
Natural residual sugar. No?
Yeah.
So both of them are 3 grams about residual.
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, they have a nice balance.
Have we tasted the rosé?
Rosé, yeah. We have now, if you want. I suppose you have also the cava rosé, James?
Yeah, I just tasted it. Yeah, very good. I liked it a lot. Okay.
In the case of rosé, yes, that's 100% Grenache.
Thank you.
Okay.
And in this case, it's a different vintage also. We were talking about the 2018 vintage for the white, but for the rosé, we have the 2016.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, really nicely done. Okay, let's talk about your Riojas now. Do you want to should we taste the Flor de Muga or the other Muga? What's best?
This was Flor.
No, but first
maybe we can start with the
Muga white.
Muga white,
and then
we move to the 2 rosés.
Okay, sure.
This one.
So the Muga 2020 is Muga white.
Yes, 2020 vintage.
2020.
Exactly.
This is the main grape. It's the Viura, which is also the called also the Macabeo in other regions. Together with and it has some also blended with some Malvasia and some white Grenache.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been partially fermented in New French oak, and then it stays with its lees for another 3 to 4 months before being bottled and released. So this is I think for Rioja, that used to have a big tradition in white wines long time ago, and I think in the last years more and more, I think there are many very interesting things are being done with the Viura. I think people understand better and better how to grow the Viura, how to work with the Viura in the winery, and I think it's giving a very interesting balance and fresh wines.
It's funny because at first with that wine you taste it and you think it's just nice and fresh, but now it has a lot of structure and has a minerality to it. Like, I don't like to make comparisons, but it tastes a lot like sort of white Burgundy even, and it's using your grape varieties. So
I think it's for us it's important to. We love what we call for us international varieties. Obviously, they are nice, but in our case, our philosophy is to keep using our local varieties. And I think the case of the Viura, I think it's a good example of if you do good efforts, if you work on it, that you can get very, very nice results and with very good personality of your area, of your vineyards. And as you say, I think this wine, it's intended to be, at least for us, to be drunk young within 2 or 3 years. But, and I like it now, like this, with this nice balance of the fruit, the freshness, the acidity. But you can also keep it some years and you get to very nice, complex results.
It's wine aging very well.
Very this well. One in particular is one of the best ones I've had from you guys. And it really has structure and good length.
Mm-hmm.
And how many months did you say it was in wood?
In wood with the, and after that the aging about 4 months and a half.
Okay.
So it's barrel, the end of September, October, November, December, and in January we take out to make the blend and to bottle.
Okay, so now the rosé.
We move to the Muga Rosé.
Muga Rosé, 2020 also, of course. What do you say?
So 2020 was obviously a very good vintage for white varieties as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like you could pick whenever you wanted.
Very good vintage.
In Rioja Alta was a very good vintage.
Yeah.
But not only for red and rosé, also for red wines. It's a fantastic vintage. Right. Yeah.
Good, can't wait. So 1920.
Good. So the Muga Rosé you have here, it's the typical blend we use that already our grandfather, used to work with this type of blend too. So we are 60% each Grenache. We have also some Viura, 30% Viura, and a little bit of small percentage of Tempranillo. Too.
Because in the old vineyards in Rioja, especially in Valle del Najerilla, in the same vineyard you have whites, Grenache, and a few pots of Tempranillo. So we pick everything. We pick the grape at the same time.
Okay. This is always good. I think that it's interesting because Provence has such a reputation for rosé, but actually, if you think about it, I think that Rioja is another place in the world that always makes some fantastic rosé. Do you think that's because of just historically you guys have been making it for a long time, or is it something unique to the area in terms of being able to blend Viura and Garnacha together, or is it maybe it's the Garnacha because Provence, all the best rosés or almost all are made with Garnacha.
But maybe both things, no? That's mean we have been making the rosé since many years ago, and also because this area, mainly the valley of Najerilla Valley, is a fantastic valley to grow Garnachas and also Viuras.
For the Garnacha for rosé is the perfect place in the world, in my opinion. Again, in Valle del Najerilla.
I think here, to your question, James, I think we have the two wines here answer to both things. I mean, the Muga Rosé, I would say that's because our tradition, something we have been doing in our family for a long time, that our grandfather already did. So that's a tradition in that winemaking and in those type of vineyards. And then the Flor de
blood.
Maybe too much. And the Flor de Muga. I think the Flor de Muga, it's more. I think it reflects that nice work being done with the Grenache in those very particular part of the valley, Valle Najerilla, where you have conditions at a higher altitude, cooler areas, where the type of Grenache you want for that type of maybe with more volume, more structure, rosé, more pale color also. I think that's that the Flor de Muga, it's an example of that reflection of the the very nice work done with that high top quality vineyards and very old plots. That Flor de Muga, we're talking about plots in average about 80 years old plots.
Okay. It's actually quite. It has some nice structure to it. It's still medium bodied, but it's very compact and long.
Mm-hmm.
Good structure. As always, como siempre. Okay, let's
Thank you, James.
It is. Let's move on to the so we do Muga Reserva then, no?
Yeah. We do Muga Reserva, and we always like to have something. Maybe we have, as we do not have the Selección Especial, still the 18 to taste. We took after the Reserva 2018, we took back vintage of 2005 of Selección.
I
just
saw
to see
that.
how it performs.
Cool.
So we have the Muga Reserva 2018. As we were saying at the beginning, that good. We are very happy with that type of vintage, that character, that Mediterranean character, that nice fruits, very pleasant young tannins, and that because of Isaac was mentioning that yes, by the end before the harvest we had some rain that complicated a little bit things. So we focus a lot of the efforts on the Reserva and a little bit of the Selección Especial. I think in terms here also we follow the typical blend that we follow for all our reds, Rioja blends. The main grape being Tempranillo, and then the Mazuelo, Garnacha, and Graciano. And it has 24 months also, 24 months in oak barrels.
They're very refined.
I think
it's not yet in the market. This wine, we are going to market this wine at the beginning of next year.
It still has some months to go in bottle before we release.
More or less 4 months more in bottle. We must to keep this wine in the cellar.
That's great. It's really delicious already. I can see like 4 more months. It'll just be perfect then.
Yeah.
Really nice tannins.
As you were mentioning from your experience in this vintage for Rioja, that yes, probably at the same age other vintages, they are not as the tannins or the fruit is not as round or as pleasant as this 2018 vintage that I think is gonna get more round quicker than other vintages because of the conditions we had during the year.
Well, what's interesting about 18 is that most of the Riojas I've had, it's hard. If you hadn't have told me, you don't really see any influence of a difficult harvest. The wines have a very nice structure. They're complete. There's no dilution. So it may have been difficult, but you made some very successful wines.
Mm-hmm.
We try it.
Yeah.
Also, we must realize also that there are many vineyards that we use for the top wines, like Chardonnay, like Torre Muga, like Aro.
Yeah.
Part of this grape, they're placing this wine
here.
That's true. Yes. But big efforts put. Some of the vineyards we can see from where we are sitting now. When we look at we have the mountain in front of us. And some of the vineyards as the slopes of mountains we didn't use for Torre Muga or Pradera, and some of them went into this into the Reserva in 2018.
Some of them to the Selección, but some of them to the Muga Reserva.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try the 05.
5 Selección Especial.
So this is the Selección Especial. For us, the main difference between the Muga Reserva and the Reserva Selección Especial is that mainly is the type of vineyards we used.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the map around Bodegas Muga, around our winery, in a matter of 20 to 25 kilometers, in a 20 to 25 kilometers area is where we have located all our vineyards, and depending on the type of wine, we are going to use one area or another. In the case of the Muga Selección Especial, we use vineyards that are at a higher altitude on the slopes of the mountains, a little bit older than the vineyard we typically would use for the Reserva. and also in terms of the winemaking method, the oak, the selection we do of the oak, it has a little bit more time in oak than the Muga Reserva, but that's not the main difference. It's also that it's at least half of it's in New French oak. And in terms of the style, I would say the Selección Especial, I always say that it has the soul of Rioja, but with that touch of a little bit extra touch of fruit, of body, and I think it's a very good balanced style between Rioja and something a little bit more with a little bit more structure than the Reserva.
Oh,
and in
classic.
This case, the 2005, I think these wines they age beautifully. And it's funny to see how it happens. It's normal, but it's funny. We were mentioning before starting this call that we hadn't tasted the 2005 Selección Especial 2005 for a while, and it's funny how it evolves and how each vintage has its own character, and it's nice to see.
And it's holding on beautifully and very typical Rioja. You know, in character, you taste it, you go, "That's Rioja." It's really excellent.
Mm-hmm.
When did you release this? When was it first released on the market?
Wow, this was in 2009, 2010, well, between 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because
and I think it's sometimes it's difficult to say when they ask you, okay, how what's the optimum moment to drink this wine? I think it depends a lot on your palate, but every day.
Yeah.
But for those people who like to see wines aging, I think it's I think that the top reservas and Grand Reservas from Rioja in general, I think it's incredible how well they age.
So and how much did this cost when you released it in 2010?
I don't remember, but that was possible. Maybe I don't know.
Probably we are talking. It's difficult to say. XLR, but XLR price. Maybe it was at 20.
No, I can tell you more or less about the Spanish market. In Spain, more or less, the Muga Selección Especial at this time was maybe the price was maybe something between 22 and 24 euros. Retail price, and nowadays it's about it's near 30.
Yeah. So it's around 30 US when it was released, and look how beautiful it is today. That's the thing too, that a lot of times at that price level, people might think, "Oh, I should drink it right away," but look how well it's aged.
Yeah,
it's really fantastic.
That's the thing that, as Isaac was saying, that was the perfect one to drink every day. But we only have a few bottles left. And then the next,
I'm looking
and the vintage that was released. This 2014 was released by the beginning of this year.
Beginning of this year.
Of 2021, and this is the 2014. Prado Enea.
So
Prado Enea, it's our, one, I would say, the very iconic wine from Muga, the Grand Reserva from Muga, together with the Torre Muga. It comes from different area than the Torre Muga, but those are the latest grapes to enter in the winery during the harvest, because we're talking here about our oldest vineyards at the highest altitude, cooler areas that they take a little bit more time to get the perfect point of ripeness, and then we follow here. It's gonna stay for at least 3 years in oak barrels, and another 3 to 4 years in bottle before being released. So we are talking here about the Prado Enea that at least 7 years is going to stay with us before being released. And I think in terms of style, I like very much the complexity, how velvety it is, and the personality it has. I think it is difficult to find this type of when I think of the top quality Grand Reservas from Rioja, it's difficult to find this type of style in other parts, in other regions of the world.
It's really, really fantastic.
And also, I think here, not only in this vintage, but I think in Pradonea, which also is critical, it spends 3 years in oak barrels, but the work we do with the oak at our premises, producing our own oak barrels, that give us a lot of precision. Because we're very obsessed about this balance that you have the balance between the fruit, the freshness, the oak, and the fact that the winemaker Isaac and working together with the barrel maker, finding the right point also of toast, the exact quality or type of oak you want from which forest. That also gives, I think, a precision to this wine in terms of the winemaking.
Really fantastic. And is that on the market now?
Yeah. Since beginning of this year, it's in the market.
Well, listen, that was a really great tasting. Thank you so much. And there were some beautiful wines there, and some surprises too. Particularly, I think the new releases of your cavas are really special. But of course, the Pradonea, the more I taste it, the more I like it. 14's definitely. It's a vintage you can really enjoy now with such sophistication, but will age really well. The white was excellent. No, everything was really good, and a shame that you only made the Reserva 2018, but at the same time, it's a very high quality.
Thank you.
Thank you,
James.
So we look forward to go to travel to Hong Kong, hopefully soon.
Hope to see you soon here in Rioja again.
No, look at I want to come to Rioja. Quiero ir allá. Okay.
Salud, bien.
Okay, hermanos, gracias. Saludos.